This April at a press conference when you announced a $2 million grant from the DOJ to fight violent crime in Albuquerque, you also made a passionate plea to the youth to stop gun violence. It was a very emotional plea, and you spoke directly to the youth of the city. What sparked you to ask the youth of this nation, do your part and help curtail gun violence?
Community. It's my firm belief that we are here together. I think there's an easy tendency, and this goes back to my first years in law school, there's an easy tendency to look at the format of our governments from the point of view of holding someone to account. Like it is my job as a lawyer to make sure that person is doing their job. Part of the cognitive dissonance for me in stepping into the legal profession was realizing that I believe we all serve a role. And beyond that, we are all members of this community, right? None of us acts in a vacuum. Everything that we do at a local level, between me and you, every bullet that's fired, as we know tragically from recent events, cascades in impact. Every piece of plastic waste we throw away, every fake fentanyl pill distributed, each of these has far-reaching impacts throughout the community. And so for me, choosing this profession as a lawyer was me rejecting this idea of, we need to hold somebody to account, we need to point a finger at somebody, and instead embracing this idea of one community, our community, a mutual responsibility, right? Because I didn't have to end up here. One of the hardest decisions in my legal career that I made was very early on, was between what to do the summer after my 1L year. And that summer I was offered a job at a large law firm that was offering me, I think, $30,000 for about 10 weeks of my work. And instead I chose to come and work here at the New Mexico Attorney General's office. I made that decision for this community because I believe that was my responsibility to come and serve and do what I can to make this community safer. And so to your question, which is about the young men who are driving violence in our community. They are members of this community too, right? They are people who have experienced uncounted traumas themselves, and their parents have, maybe their grandparents have. And there are people too who, even if we prosecute them, we send them to prison, in the vast majority of cases, they're coming back out at some point to rejoin our community. And so whether it's now or in 10 years or 5 years or 4, they are always members of our community. And so when I talk directly to those young men, I hope to give them that message. And it's a dual promise, right? And so this is what I'm so incredibly proud of the city of Albuquerque for endorsing and leaning into, which is the Violence Intervention Program here, which identifies these young men that are most at risk for shooting or being shot. And we say both of those things because it's the same population of people, right? They're the shooters and they're the victims. And you go and talk to them. And I've done this before with the mayor and the chief, and we've rode in caravan house to house, speaking with folk who we've identified as most at risk, those who are driving violence. And we tell them, here are the two promises, right? We want you to be safe, alive, and free. But the shooting has to stop. And so we will help you if you let us. The city of Albuquerque is here, especially with this new funding, whatever social services, they call it the big little things, right? Diapers, bus passes, employment contracts. We will help you if you let us, right? And we will stop you if you make us. And we tell them this on the front end. We, the federal government, want you to be safe, alive, and free. I don't want to have to lock you up. But that is, those are the dual promises that we give to the youth of this city, is that there is a way out, that we believe in you, and that fundamentally I believe in forgiveness and redemption. But to accomplish that, we do it together. We do it as a community, and we can't do it just by me saying, I'm going to lock you up. We can't do it just by saying, here's free services. We can't do it by threatening or by using the carrot on their own. The only way, and this is based in science, right? There's a lot of studies on this program that go back to the 90s in Boston, where it was first created as a group violence intervention. The messages come together. The promises come together. It's only by marrying the enforcement side to the social services side on the front end and giving people the choice that people will make the right choice for this community.
On that note, sometimes local governments, especially like Bernalillo County and Santa Fe County, will lean on the federal government and say, can you help us out? Because you guys do your job. We may have holes in our system in fighting crime. But on that note, someone could commit a crime in a local jurisdiction and get 9 months. But if they do it in a federal jurisdiction on the reservation, they could get 7 years. There's a disparity there. Is there something that should be wedged in that disparity of sentencing between a local and a federal government?
There's a giant disparity, and I think you've identified a couple really interesting issues there in terms of where they lie. I have never been in a jurisdictional dispute with any of the local DAs here over a case. It is because whenever, in fact, over this weekend even, I received multiple emails, hey, will you help us with this case? And that comes from the perception that I believe is backed up by the data, that when it comes to those hard cases, those truly terrible cases, we get better outcomes against those folk who need to take some time away from community. And so in terms of equalizing the disparities, and I believe you're right in those, the disparities between federal prosecution and state, or federal prosecution and tribal, the issue's complex, right? Because we operate under different sets of laws with different reasons behind those laws. And different stakeholders investing in each. And so, I didn't write the code book. It's huge. There's thousands of things that are illegal federally. Nor did I, write the New Mexico State code book or any tribal law or code book. But the interesting thing about being a prosecutor is this: I don't get to say what is illegal. I don't get to say whether someone's conduct should be a crime if it's not defined in the code book. But the most important thing about being a prosecutor is our discretion. And that is where we have our biggest impact on society. We have to always, as prosecutors, orient our discretion towards justice, towards community safety. What that means is when we look at a charge, we look at a case, as I was saying before, we don't just look at whether a law was violated. We look at whether this is a just thing to do. And then, what are the solutions we are seeking to the problem we're trying to solve, which is community safety? How do we achieve community safety using the tools that we have? For that reason, we've invested heavily over the past year in a number of programs that recognize this interdependence of our community. We've doubled the number of cases that we've sent to pretrial diversion within the district, and what that means is folks who could be charged with a federal crime, but are not. And instead, what they do is they agree to be on supervision. They agree to accept the support, the help that we offer. And if they do that successfully, they walk away without a conviction. They walk away to be productive members of our community once again, without any encumbrances coming with a federal conviction.
Has prosecution under the Major Crimes Act led to justice?
Yes and no, right? And so, as I was saying about discretion, the code book is too big. All federal crimes, all state crimes are not enforced. And so when it comes to what we do, we get to choose, we should choose, when to use the tools, the Major Crimes Act, when not to use those tools. When they are effective at securing public safety, when somebody needs a timeout, as I called it before, from the community to cool down. Or when a person needs to be supported, when a person needs to enter, for example, pretrial diversion, when a person needs, for example, coming back to the community to be supported through a reentry court, which I'm actually really proud to say we are setting up this district's first federal reentry court to work with people as they return. And so we use the tools that we have to address the community safety issues that we're faced with. But prosecution alone, incarceration alone, isn't enough to secure community safety. And so that's why I mentioned the large number of prosecutors and additional resources I'm bringing to Indian country here in the district. The goal is not just to increase prosecutions. The goal is to have a holistic approach to crime and public safety. Every one of my prosecutors in that section right now serves as a tribal liaison. What that means is each of them have a responsibility to a specific tribe or pueblo, where they interact directly and interface directly in a government-to-government manner, both with their governments and their law enforcement, so we can seek other options to pursue community safety. That includes everything from training, education, intervention and prevention work. And only by, as I said with the violence intervention work, marrying these multiple approaches together, which we can do as the federal government, can we bring safety to these communities.
And last question, and I hear you talking, and it seems very clear where your heart is. And I know from covering law enforcement, to me, the prosecutor was always the hard-nosed, somewhat conservative figure. Can a progressive be an effective prosecutor?
Yes. I don't call myself a progressive prosecutor. I call myself a prosecutor because when a prosecutor is doing his job right, he is oriented towards community safety first. And so by using these tools and thinking as a human being who's a part of this community, and not as a lawyer who fits words into statutes and argues in court, I am fulfilling my responsibility to pursue community safety and to pursue justice as a prosecutor. And so I believe very strongly that it is our role, as I was discussing with prosecutorial discretion, to always wield that power carefully and with a mind towards the end goal. We can't prosecute every crime, nor should we. Prosecutorial discretion is a valve, and it turns only one direction. It turns towards mercy. It turns against charging people. Our discretion allows us to give people mercy. And in that context, I think every prosecutor's job is to determine what is the best way, in a very practical, common sense, empirical way. What is the best way to bring safety to this community with the tools that I have? And if I'm not doing that, what am I doing?
Alex, thank you for joining us here on New Mexico in Focus.
My pleasure. It's
Thank
been
you.
an honor.